Yes, I gotta talk about it. Didn't want to, but a conversation about Amber Heard as it relates to what we care about here, the movies and the film industry. In the film industry, next up on Just the Talk. So, we're gonna talk about it. Let's go. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks, and I am your humble host and host 718. And we're gonna get into it about Amber Heard and all your hashtags and all the things on top, man. We're gonna keep it real. And this was something that I didn't know how I wanted to approach because it's easy to go talk about, bring traffic to. But my channel's not about getting into too much politics per se, only when it relates to the film industry, and films. I don't want to get too wrapped up into it because at the end of the day, there's always going to be some level of politics in films because if you know the history of films, they were understood to be propaganda piece and tools of propaganda piece. So to say that no one's going to push agendas and narratives via the TV and thing that you watch, especially when we complain about not getting enough representation, then this is the direction that we're going to go into, and we're going to have to discuss a little bit. But I want to do it with respect to what the industry should be and how we should really approach it. And politics aside, this is going to affect a lot of decisions that WB Discovery is going to have to make. I mean, take into consideration that they're already dealing with Ezra Miller, Then they got Amber Heard and everything that's going on with the highly publicized case that's going on like right now. And I'm actually watching. Then you got the issue that Ray Fisher has with Walter Hamada, as he's named out directly. If they don't keep Hamada, or if they do keep Hamada, which I think they will, I won't be surprised if they put him on back to horror. But if they do decide to stay with Walter Hamada, because one thing they have in common, streamlining the money, then they're going to have to repair those relationships. As I said, he wanted to repair relationships with talent and executives and create something that's focused on the money, basically creating money, not about like fulfilling promises. We already hearing the conversation that's going on surrounding a project that Clint Eastwood did. Now, I haven't read the articles yet, so I don't want to get too much into that, but it's just touching on how Lab is trying to figure out how we're giving out budgets, and it seems like it's for other reasons other than budgeting and backing films that we know that will be a financial success. It almost feels like they're doing things for other alternative reasons, more out of respect or feeling like they owe it to someone that they've worked with for quite some time to release a large budget for a return that you already knew doing it wasn't going to return, but you did it anyway, just to, like out of reverence, respect, or whatever reasoning outside of will it turn a profit. And if this is how Zavit's Lab is moving, if those are seem to be true, but that's a conversation that is being talked about, that's why I brought it up, then it's only fair to say that he will look at this Amber Heard thing as, see, maybe I need to it's cheaper to get rid of everything. Even the way Zack Snyder ended his variation of his vision of the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. She's in it. She's in the nightmare sequence. She exists. Just even in that scene alone gave her life. And if this blows up in Amber Heard's face and she loses this case, they definitely will be considering recasting her. Or definitely they're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this Nightmare Scene series, if that's actually a consideration. Because it could be cheaper by way of the budget, because it's like deserted and, you know, low maintenance on the set designs probably. So you have a reason why you could do a lot more things in camera as opposed to needing to use a lot of CG. Especially if they're in the desert, she's not going to use as much water. She'll probably find more convenient ways of doing it, like taking like mist out of the air, whatever, and controlling it, because that's her powers. I think it's aquakinesis or whatever that they call it in the comics, where she can manipulate water and turn it around. Like she's almost like a magician with water, if you will. A sorceress of water, if you will. But anyway, by setting her up in that, now you put that in direct conflict against what we would want to see is the return of the Snyderverse. And a lot of people within the Snyderverse kind of want to get her recasted by Camille Clark, if I'm not mistaken, a young lady that played Emile Clark. Yeah, Emile Clark. Hope I'm saying her name right. Emilia Clarke. And people already trying to rally for Amber Heard to be removed, to be in fairness to what happened with Johnny Depp, which kind of makes sense, because if you're going to be that apt to get rid of Johnny Depp, then you should be that forthcoming with Amber Heard. But I also understand when you have two different divisions and the WB is already like struggling, trying to keep a positive air around the DCEU. Well, these troubled artists, what do? You know what I mean? So objectively speaking, it would be fair to drop them, but when it comes to financial, the money, if even if not a lot of people are talking enough about it, with that they could chill and see if it'll blow over, they'll rather do that, because we already got these characters casted. If we start doing a whole lot of recasting, it's going to also affect people having this relationship with the characters in a lot of ways. No, I mean, the original character has to be that much of a bomb that you would need to, it will behoove you to recast. And Amber Heard is kind of in that space. Like, let's call it what it is, whether you believe or not. We're not trying to here to address that. That what we're talking about is that, financially speaking, we might be at a point where it might just be cheaper to get rid of her and swap her out with an even better actress. Now, the question is Emilia Clarke a better actress? Now, in Game of Thrones, she's amazing. But since then, we haven't seen her take on a character and own, as it were. We keep looking at her as Daenerys. Dany. You feel me? Has she separated herself enough from that character that she could own another character without people closely associating her with Game of Thrones? I mean, a lot of the reasons why people want her and Khal Drogo back, if you will, Jason Momoa, is because of what they were able to do in terms of chemistry, if you will. Which, if you ask me, I didn't think it was that like amazing, but they did have a lot of chemistry for what they were trying to present. You know, but it wasn't like they did a whole lot of deep in, you know what I mean? It wasn't that intense, let's be for real. But they worked for what they needed to be done in terms of just having enough of a chemistry for all the scenes that they needed to provide, even though, let's be for real, their first encounter, if you will, wasn't exactly that of romance. But neither here nor there. I mean, and I'm talking about in terms of Game of Thrones. I get what they're trying to look for, and I get that Aquaman could be the Game of Thrones of the sea, but the direction in the first film isn't exactly expressing that. It's expressing something a little bit more action adventure-esque, more on the Marvel side of things. So yeah, but I think if they stayed within the more Zack Snyder-esque version, you would have gotten those type of Game of Thrones type of tales from under the water. That being said, also this whole case got people personally involved. It's no different than Team Zack Snyder versus Team Anti-Zack Snyder versus and all the rest of that. It's going to be a lot of people that's going to... Now it's about the fight between you and those that don't see your vision or your narrative. And it'll be just a back and forth. And people will start to get emotionally invested the more they insult, the more they personalize each and every attack online to the opposing viewpoint. It becomes this weird beef online that goes out. At some point, you'll outsider looking in, you'll look at it and be like, well, at what point have we just stopped talking about the actual case? Now we're just arguing some other personal thing that we're trying to exercise through the case, through the contrarian visions of how people take the Amber Heard case on. You know, like, I'm very much wrapped up into it because it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's funny. It's hilarious. A lot's going on. And even for me, though, even those conversations exist outside of film and fandom. You know, I don't like to muddy the water with people's personal lives. You could fall into a sinkhole of issues. But that being said, it's hard to escape the bad press that she's getting from it. Like all the hashtags and stuff. And there's a lot of people that do not want her in this franchise. And again, it's comparable to, even though like, comparable, let me be fair with this. Because I was about to say something else. But it's comparable to other people that have gotten it, like your Kathleen Kennedys and your Brie Larsons, in terms of the level of vitriol. Now, the reasons why and whether or not it's warranted, that's not what I'm here to address. It could very well be warranted. Perhaps not. But to be fair, it's here and we have to address it. And again, Zaslav could just be like, not even just Zaslav. It could be Walter Amada. People at WB could really sit here and be like, you know what? Let's just get rid of the whole thing and start all over again. They can't. I don't think they could do it through the Batman unless after the trilogy. And then maybe they'll have control of the whole thing. But then again, Robert Pattinson may walk with Matt Reeves if Matt Reeves doesn't want to be involved in a cinematic universe. So they only have what they have. So the only thing that we have going for it is we have what we have. And Zaslav is not interested in starting all over again if he can afford to. Because there's a lot of good things we have on the table. But with everything going around with each of the main actors, big actors in it. She's not main, not Amber Heard, but she's the next tier of characters, and she's the main character in the world of Aquaman, if you will. She's not the main character, but she's his wife. She will be his wife. Remember, has a large role to be played in his journey, independent of the Justice League. They're not interested if they have to in recasting. Now, if it's true that, and I'm hearing that Walter Amada had said in the deposition, maybe, I hope I'm saying it right, but I heard it being referred to in the case that there was an issue with chemistry with them way before they even had an issue with what's going on with Amber Heard and her case, if you will. This case with Johnny Depp, if you will. That's possible. I also believe that could be here nor there, because he's a company man. He has to say what he has to say to protect the company. And and I'm sure they are thinking about getting rid of her, and they want to separate themselves as much from her in this case as possible. Because she's attached to Johnny Depp, who they had to remove from a series based on the same case. So it makes sense that they'll just want to back away from both of them, not only just to be fair, but it'd be easy. Because a lot of the fans are not appreciating them being here. Be them Zack Snyder fans or anti-Zack Snyder fans, however you want to look at it. That being said, what does this case mean? It means a lot. It's going to show and expose how your personal life can't actually affect the company and the business. And no matter what your fandom is now, if things are going against it in terms of affecting how they can make their profits, you're going to have to accept the fact that this specifically does not help the Snyderverse moving forward. It doesn't. It's more of a reason to just walk away from it. It's starting to be too much stink around it. I wouldn't be surprised if they walk away. I don't want them to. I think there's still, even with this, there's still enough. You could recast Mira. That's not an issue. That will probably behoove you to do that before we keep going further. So you need to start making that decision like ASAP. If she makes it to another film or into the nightmare scene and you don't change that by now, then you might as well keep her and accept everything that comes with it. But you're going to have to make that decision before you start rolling cameras on anything else she does. You might want to keep her in a new movie because we don't have time for it, or it may even behoove you to just get rid of her now, shoot her scenes out, pay out her contract, and move on. But again, WB won't want that kind of press. They want to buy their time as much as possible to see how this goes. But I tell you right now, if she loses, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll get rid of her. Remember, they're keeping Ezra Miller too, at least for the time being. So they're still going to have to accept a lot of bad press because now they're going to have to see how much money and marketing dollars did we invest and how much we're planning on investing versus how much it would be to just walk away from everything and just start all over again. And again, I'm sure they got people doing that in accounting right now. But the question I ask you guys is, what do you think this means for the industry and for WB moving forward? Because you gotta admit, this is another reason to walk away from the DCEU as it stands. Now, just another reason. If they can get Ben Affleck back, that's another reason to keep going forward with it. But this definitely is not helping. But leave it in the comments below and let me know what you guys think. And as always, you know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, time for a better outro. Chill.